You are listening to the Author Diary Entries podcast. I'm your host, Sagan Morrow, and this is episode number 193. Access the show notes and the transcript of this episode at saganmorrow.com/podcast. We are doing something a little different for today's episode. I am going to do a live tarot reading. Fun fact, I first started reading tarot cards more than 20 years ago. I got really into tarot and I read the cards regularly. I was very skilled at it. And then over the years, life happened. And now and then I would drift away or back toward tarot. This year, I have been back at tarot in earnest. Nearly every day I am reading tarot cards or expanding my tarot study. And it feels so wonderful to be back at it, reconnecting with my tarot cards and reacquainting myself with the deck. So with that in mind, I thought that it would be a lot of fun to do a live tarot reading based on my most recent Why Choose chick lit novel, Kiss Me, which is book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series. We are going to use tarot to uncover what this story wants you to take away from it as the reader. As a sidebar, if you haven't yet grabbed your copy of Kiss Me, it is available as an ebook on Kobo, Kindle, Nook, etc. You can visit saganmorrow.com/books or grab your copy at the link in the show notes for this podcast episode. Okay, so I have created a fun little 5-card tarot spread that we are going to do together live on this episode. Our core question that we are asking the tarot cards is this: what does Kiss Me, book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series, want to teach you or tell you as the reader of this story? The meanings of the cards will be as follows for this 5-card spread. Card 1, the overarching message or theme from this book. Card 2, hidden teachings from this book that you might have overlooked. Card 3, the underlying vibe of this story. Card 4, key attributes of the main characters to pay attention to. And card 5, general lesson, advice, or overall insights to take away from this novel. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to shuffle the cards and then cut them and then lay them out for this spread that I've created. And then I'm going to interpret the cards for you, the book reader of Kiss Me. Typically, as I'm turning over each card when I'm doing a tarot reading, I like to make any initial notes and observations for each individual card. And then once all of the cards are revealed, I like to view them as a whole and how they connect together. And then I like to review my database of tarot notes to check what I might have missed from the traditional meanings or to see if anything else comes up. Full disclosure here, I have not tried this specific tarot spread yet. I created the concept for it and how I want the spread to look visually, but doing this here live is the first time that I will have done this spread. So we are going to just see how this goes. All right, so with that, let's do this. I am shuffling the cards a few times now, and I'm going to focus on that core question that we are asking with this tarot spread. What does Kiss Me, book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series, want to teach you or tell you as the reader of this story? We are interested in uncovering more about the overarching messages or themes from the book, as well as hidden teachings from this book that readers might have overlooked, the underlying vibe of this story, key attributes of the main characters for readers to pay attention to, and any general lesson, advice, or overall insights to take away from this novel. I always like thinking about the question as I'm shuffling the cards. What does Kiss Me, book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series, want to teach you or tell you as the reader of this story? Okay. So I'm now cutting the cards into 3 piles. putting the last pile on top of the other two. That's how I like to shuffle the cards. And now I am laying out the cards in the 5-card spread. Okay, card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, and card 5. Okay, there we go. We are all set. Okay, let's turn over each card and see what this book, what Kiss Me, wants to tell us as the reader of the story. All right. Card 1 is the overarching message or theme from this book. Oh, okay. We have here the 3 of Pentacles. Okay, so this is interesting because the 3 of Pentacles tends to be a lot around community coming together, and we see these people standing here and looking at this person working on a building. And I feel like the 3 of Pentacles is very much around people coming together, people being working in the community, and also being recognized for their skills, for their talents. And this card, I'm thinking, of Kiss Me, of course, because this is a reading for that novel. It's kind of funny because in Kiss Me, we have Scarlett as the main character, and she's basically being recognized for her talents. She's being invited to become the main feature of a club that's going to be burlesque specific. And she's kind of like, oh, am I good enough for this or not? And it's interesting because even in this card, in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I like to use for my tarot readings, it kind of looks in this imagery, this person is kind of like paused in the middle of their work and they're like, oh, you want to talk to me? Like what's going on here? So I feel like that is very, very representative of kind of that piece around doing your thing, working hard, creating a beautiful body of work, and people coming up and being like, hey, this looks awesome. Yeah, let's do this. Let's all be a part of it. And then the number 3 as well is very on the nose when we're talking about this from a polyamorous or a why choose trope sort of lens. It's very on the nose. But again, it's really about this sort of coming together and a holistic sort of meeting of groups and community and that kind of thing. So I think that that's very lovely for this first meaning of the overarching message or theme from this book. Okay, so that's the first card. Card 2 is Hidden Teachings from this book, from Kiss Me, Book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series that you might have overlooked. Oh, okay, we have the Knight of Pentacles. Interesting, we have another Pentacles. So Pentacles, as one of the 4 suits of the Minor Arcana of Tarot, Pentacles is typically around sort of the physical world, material goods, finances, that kind of thing. So here we have the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knights are typically in motion. Most of the time, when we see the other Knights and the other suits of the Minor Arcana, they are moving. They are like in motion. They are moving towards something. And this is the only Knight that is standing still, which is very interesting to see here. I feel like when we're thinking about the hidden teachings from this book, there's an interesting dichotomy between the black, the dark black of the horse and the bright sunshiny yellow of the background. Because I feel like that really reflects this entire concept around sort of the unknown and hidden things, but there's brightness on the horizon. And we also do see that there is rocky terrain in the background of this card. And yet this knight is standing on a hill and standing still. So it's kind of like there could be some challenges around going on, but in the moment, perhaps stopping, reflecting, focusing on what matters most, can make a difference. The knight here as well is also very guarded in that he's wearing a full suit of armor, right? But he is exposing his face. So I think that there's also something here in the entire concept around not protecting yourself so much that you have a barrier between you and the world, but rather that you are looking, that you have sort of a clarity in your focus and you are actually inviting people in. Okay, so that's my initial impressions of the Knight of Pentacles for this particular context. And I will say as well, as an aside, that anytime that I'm reading tarot cards, the meaning is of course always going to change and shift from one reading to another. Each card is extremely complex and has many different layers of meaning in them. And so anytime that we're doing a reading, we really need to take that into consideration. So the Knight of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, these things are going to look different and mean something different and be interpreted differently depending on the context. And of course, depending on the tarot reader themselves. Okay, card 3 is the underlying vibe of this story. Kiss me. Ooh, Justice. Okay, so we have our first major arcana card here. And so the minor arcana cards tend to be a little bit more around sort of like the day-to-day sort of fluctuations type of things, whereas major arcana cards can be, sometimes people call it more of like destiny types of things, but really it's just like the bigger types of things at play. And so as the underlying vibe of this story, I think this is also a really interesting one, given that Scarlet feels so torn in and pulled in different directions. And she isn't, she feels like she's being a bit morally gray in some instances. And so here, really, this is the underlying vibe, this entire concept of justice and things unfolding based on, like karma and things like that is really interesting. And also the entire concept of the balance of everything, being able to have that balance. And that is one of Scarlet's biggest struggles, really, is trying to juggle all the different things to have that really beautiful balance. Okay, then we have card 4 is key attributes of the main characters to pay attention to. Okay, so we have here the Four of Swords. Okay, and so this is an interesting one. The Four of Swords. So typically we would look at this as kind of the need for rest and relaxation and rejuvenation, right? Like refreshing ourselves, taking a step back, taking a bit of a break from things. And potentially, in terms of the key attributes of the main characters to pay attention to, I think I'm just thinking now in terms of the context of this tarot spread in general, when we do this again for a future book, I might be a little bit more specific about which main character we're talking about. But we could potentially view this as, I don't want to spoil this too much, but Scarlet putting to bed, right? Putting to rest a particular set of feelings that she might have for someone. Maybe I don't want to give away too many spoilers of the book, but I feel like this would be in a direct connection to a very specific relationship that we get into by the end of the novel. Another way to interpret this card, again from Scarlet's perspective, is that it could simply be around her passivity and her unwillingness to make a move and to take action, because that is a huge aspect of this novel. Okay. Then we have card 5, which is the general lesson, advice, or overall insights to take away from this novel. Kiss me. Ooh, 3 of Wands. Okay. So The Three of Wands, we have here an individual standing on a cliff edge, looking out at a sea, at an ocean, and there are some little ships in the background. And one of the things that I love about the Three of Wands is that there's kind of two main interpretations of this card. Or, I mean, there's of course many, but the two perspectives that we can kind of have on this card is that either this person standing on the edge of the cliff looking at the ships is either watching the ships leave or return. And which are they doing? What's happening in this card? And I feel as though with this person standing there and watching, looking out at them, I think that there's a really interesting aspect around the entire concept, again, of that sort of passivity versus taking action and participating in your own life. And this whole concept of, are you waiting for someone else to do a thing, or are you taking charge of your own life? And if you are sitting back and waiting, does that actually make sense for this particular setting? Are you still in control of yourself, or are you letting other people take the narrative? So that's one of the biggest things that I would personally take away from this particular card in this context. Okay, so that is a general overview of each card. Now, if we're looking at the cards as a whole, I think it's very interesting here that we have Pentacles, Swords, and Wands all represented, which are three suits of the minor arcana. What we do not see, which is really interesting from a romance novel perspective, is we do not see the Cups suit represented here. So what can we kind of take away from that? I think what we can really take away is that the emotional aspect of this novel is, it's not like, even though this is a romance novel, it's really about these other aspects around like the conflict, right? And the internal sort of turmoil. And so the romance and the emotions are absolutely there, but they're kind of hidden under these layers of other pieces, of other aspects that are going on. We have two cards are both threes, right? The number three, which is interesting to see there. And yeah, I think that's really interesting. Again, from that sort of polyamory, why choose perspective, that's kind of funny. And also like a bringing together, a merging of things. And then of course, there's also like the three parallel storylines in Kiss Me in this novel, which I think is really represented here. I think is represented really well. There is also a fair amount of yellow in these cards, but it feels like a lot of the yellow in it is in the background. So there is that kind of like, there's from a color theory perspective, we often look at yellow in the tarot as being kind of like joy and optimism and things like that. But what I think is interesting here is that we have yellow either in the background or on the horizon type of thing. So it's kind of like joyful times are to come, right? But we need to kind of get through these other things first. The other aspect that I think is very interesting about these five cards, when we look at them as a whole, is that there is so much passivity in them. There is very little movement in the cards. In fact, the only movement that we really see is in that first card, the Three of Pentacles, and the meaning around that one was really the overarching message or theme from this book, and that's where they're just interacting with one another. These three people are interacting with one another. Could totally represent like the three parallel storylines again. But otherwise, it's an individual person standing there, looking out, waiting, being passive, sitting, standing, lying down, right? Like, so it's very interesting to kind of see that. And I think that that is also very representative of this novel, where Scarlett is kind of putting herself in this silo. She's kind of putting herself in a box. She's putting herself in a place where she is being alone and being passive. And she needs to allow herself, again, going back to that overarching message or theme from this book, she needs to allow herself to connect with other people and be part of something bigger than herself. She needs to stop being alone and being that sort of lone wolf kind of character. So those are some of the things that would jump out to me. Okay, I want to take a look. I want to take a look at the tarot database as well, just to kind of double check what these, the meanings around these cards, because these are very much the things that are coming to mind for me. But I do want to check that. I will say, as a quick reminder, as we're doing this tarot spread, if you are thinking, this sounds like an interesting book, maybe I should read it, I agree. You should definitely check it out. Kiss Me is book 8 in the Polyamorous Passions series. It can be enjoyed on its own. It's available anywhere you read ebooks, or visit saganmorrow.com/books. Link is in the show notes. There is a healthy amount of exposition, so there's some background if you haven't read the previous books in the series, although it is a lot more fun to have the full background of all the books in the series. Okay. So again, before we wrap up this tarot reading, I want to bring up my tarot card database that I've created just to check if there's anything else that we want to make note of, because there could be some other things here. All right, so we'll start again with that 3 of Pentacles. Let me just bring up the 3 of Pentacles in my database. Okay, have I missed anything? Let's see. Yeah, we have the theme of work for sure. Which again would go back to Scarlett's work as a burlesque performer and being invited to perform at the specific club as the main event all the time. Okay, one of the things that I didn't mention here, which I think is a really good point, is that this card as well can be around elevating your life, elevating all kinds of different aspects of your life, and having the reassurance that you do have a strong foundation, right? Because this card, literally working on a building and having a very strong foundation. So that's going to be another big piece here, especially again, when we are thinking about this card as being that sort of big message or theme from this book. I really like that as one of the main messages. That's really about, you have a strong foundation, go forth and do the thing, elevate your life, be that next level version of yourself, be that best version of yourself. You can do this, you've got this. So I really do like that. And then one of the other aspects around here, as I'm looking at my tarot database notes, one of them can be around, it can represent a bit of perfectionism, which I think is kind of funny. Not that I think that Scarlett is necessarily a perfectionist, but she definitely has a lot of insecurities around that kind of thing. So that is kind of funny. All right. Knight of Pentacles is next. So card 2, Knight of Pentacles. This is about the hidden teachings from the book that you might have overlooked. So let's see here. Okay, one of the aspects around here that I think I didn't quite get to when I was talking about the Knight of Pentacles is that while he can, he's holding, the Knight is holding the pentacle up, but his gaze is kind of above it. So I was talking about the importance of focusing in on things, and one of the things that we can also take away from this is losing sight of what you're actually working on and what is most important to you and what matters the most. And so I think that is a really important kind of hidden teaching from this book, is that whole concept of, are you actually paying attention to what matters most, or have you lost sight of that, right? Another aspect of here, there's two more pieces that I think are really good to mention from my tarot database notes, that this can be about closure, right? So the importance of having closure is absolutely a theme that comes up in this book. And then also around the concept of, are you so grounded that you aren't allowing yourself to change direction, right? Are you so sort of set in your ways that you aren't continuing to be motivated to move forward? So the importance of kind of moving forward and that kind of thing. Okay, now let's review my notes for justice. Let's see here. So this is card 3, which is the underlying vibe of the story. And justice can be around the concept of, acting on, connecting with the wisdom from within, right? Let me see here. Oh, this is interesting too. So she is holding, this person in the Justice card is holding a sword. And the sword suit tends to be around the entire concept of intellect. And so kind of like removing emotions from a decision that needs to be made. And so I think that there is an interesting aspect there around Scarlett is someone who does like connecting with herself, with her sort of emotions, her gut ideas, and she kind of loses sight of that a little bit by almost going too much into her emotions in Kiss Me. She goes a little bit too much into her emotions. And I think that that's represented really well here if we're thinking about the underlying vibe of the story. And also kind of like trusting in that if you are making, that any decisions that you are making, if you are doing them for the right reasons and that kind of thing, things will work out, right? Like you need to have those good intentions. You need to have to come into things with that sort of like being mindful, being intentional, being thoughtful, right? Having integrity, those types of things. So that's all at play here as well. Okay, then we have the Four of Swords. So this is card 4, which is key attributes of the main characters to pay attention to. All right, let's bring up the sword suit. Let's see. Four of Swords. Okay. So again, key attributes of the main character to take into consideration. Yeah, okay, this is very much the types of things that I was talking about. Having that sort of withdrawal or stabilization type of piece, allowing yourself to like strengthen your energies, replenish your energy, and letting yourself like take a deep breath and figure things out later, right? So I think that this does come into play when we're thinking about Scarlett. She is really very much at that sort of attitude of, okay, I'm just gonna like figure this out in the future. Someone like this will unfold on its own. It'll work itself out, right? So kind of that aspect of things, absolutely, I would say is at play here. All right, and then lastly, we have the Three of Wands, card 5, which is about general lesson, advice, or overall insights to take away from this novel. Okay. So this is interesting. So one of the notes that I have here is that this can be about emotional maturity. And so having like sort of achieved success, right? So being able to be strong but at rest. I think that that's a really important aspect of this, that it's not that passivity is a bad thing, right? But rather, passivity can be one of those things where what is the purpose of it, and like why are we making use of it, what are we making it mean, right? Like those different aspects. So having a rest, taking a step back from things, allowing things to move around us without us actively participating in them can be okay, but why are you doing that? And is it out of fear, or is it out of, I need to think things over before I rush into something, right? So it's kind of like the reasoning behind doing certain things that is really what matters. Another piece around here, one of the other notes I have here is that it can be a lot around taking the first step. So start moving in the direction that you want to be going in, just one step at a time. You don't need to just like jump into everything and do it all at once. You can take things one step at a time. And you can have a lot of adventures, and you can be very bold and going on this journey while also taking that sort of slow, steady movement forward. And that's okay. All right. So there we go. That is our first live tarot reading here on the Author Diary Entries podcast. What did you think of this? Did you enjoy getting some new insights into this book, Kiss Me, Polyamorous Passions, book 8, through this tarot reading? Did you enjoy getting those insights into the book through this tarot reading? Do you want me to do more of this? I'm kind of thinking I might want to do this again for some of my other novels. I think this is really fun. I think that this tarot spread can work. I might adjust some of the questions slightly, but I think that it can work really well. I enjoyed this. I think this is a lot of fun. But I would love to hear your thoughts on how this was for you. You can now send me a voicemail to share your insights, your comments, your questions. So please do visit the show notes for this episode when you visit saganmorrow.com/podcast. There is a little send fan mail link in the show notes. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and your insights. If you really enjoyed this, great. If you did not enjoy this, tell me that too, because I don't want to, keep doing live tarot readings if you're not interested. So let me know. Click on that little send fan mail link in the show notes at saganmorrow.com/podcast. I am really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Talk soon.